So, Oblivion Remake is expected to come out probably tomorrow. I think that's the assumption at this point. And as part of that, you know, I think that it's important to go back and see and appreciate and understand what it did that was so magical, special. And this right here is a documentary that came out on one of the discs for the game. And I just want to go and show you a couple little snippets of it because it reframes the game back in 2005, 2006 language. And it's very fascinating to see the game at that point versus today. For example, like the game was framed as graphically stunning, like graphically amazing. It was considered to be just a graphical powerhouse, which nowadays thinking of BGS games as like graphically cutting edge is just weird. Like it doesn't make sense. But back in the day, it was considered that BGS games were on that level. There's other things where they talk about like the game design, the AI, different things like that. And I'm going to show you this because I do think when we get the game, assuming we do get the game tomorrow, I do think there's going to be interesting little bitty things that have been changed, altered. And I'm excited to see how it's been preserved and like the soul of the game's been preserved, because it's not necessarily like a given that it will be. Because when you recreate something, some of the clunk is gone, some of the charm of it is gone. So I'm curious to see how this develops. But let me show you some snippets. As you can see, each year, hundreds of video game companies bring their latest games to E3. Not anymore. It's very sad. The biggest gaming convention in the world. Bethesda Softworks decided to unveil it at this event. Their most ambitious game ever. Oblivion. This is the story behind the game. Oh man. Think Film Incorporated. By the way, I think this should be more normalized. I love the making of documentaries of games, whether it's Elder Scrolls, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas did it too. They also did it for The Last of Us with Grounded, and The Last of Us Part 2 with Grounded 2, and God of War 2018. They did the Raising Kratos documentary. I love these things. I think it should be normalized. Do, 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 do. Look at that. The making of Oblivion.
That's the thing that shocked.
Just let it settle. A lot of the footage you're going to be seeing is from 20 years ago. 19. A lot of it's from like summer of 2006. I believe is the timeline for this. I believe. They'll show it. But a lot of the footage you're seeing is about 20 years old. And we're about to get a new version of it. Isn't that crazy?
That's the thing that shocks most people. You know, they think of a video game as a few people in their garage, and you say, no, this is 50, 60 people for 3.5 years. You're like, what?
50, 60 people for 3.5 years. Now it's like 400 to 600 people for 5 to 6 years. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? This is also ZeniMax Media Incorporated. As you watch these documentaries, as the years go by, you'll see them change the studio and move to different ones. So like all of the promotional videos and stuff for Starfield were in their new studio, their new space. They have like their own crazy building that's beautiful and amazing. But previously, like they worked in an office park. You can actually find it on Google Maps, and it's very unassuming and kind of unremarkable. It looks like it's for an accounting firm. It's much less exciting than you would think, but that's where they got started. You know, they start small and they grow.
What? A lot of people, I think that video games are, you know, purely kids, so it's like a toy. So, you know, why would you put that much effort into something that's a toy? I was the kid. I was writing games when I was, 12, whatever.
Young Todd.
And the other kids in the block would say, I'm going to play quarterback for the Cowboys. And I'd be like, I'm going to make video games, and everyone's going to play them. Like, you dork. Go back to the chess club. Shout out to the chess club.
Oh, Todd. But he's living the dream. He's living the dream. You got to give him credit for that. I just have to wonder, and if anybody out there has any knowledge of this monitor back in 2005, 2006 had to be like $50,000. This thing, like I remember the TVs of the time growing up, and like TVs were about this size and weighed 500 pounds and were 4 feet thick. This monitor back then had to be like the most cutting edge of all monitors. I can only imagine. Like this had to be such a flex, this monitor. It had to be.
Who's laughing now?
Who is laughing now?
Yes, I was in the chess club. So The Elder Scrolls is our role-playing series that we've been doing since 1994, and with each game we have started over and tried to do something very, very new. Each of them we try to, for that generation of hardware and game-playing folks, create what we think is the quintessential role-playing game, and this time we went crazy and looked at doing the game for next-generation consoles and PCs that didn't even exist when we started this project.
Very ambitious. So what you got to give BGS is that they've historically been pretty ambitious. I think if anything, like the problems and the shortcomings of Starfield were because they were too ambitious. Like they literally got ahead of themselves and built something that their own tech couldn't handle. And that's why it kind of fell flat in a lot of ways. But they've stayed hungry. Like they pushed the boundary. I'll give them that.
All right, so this is her new upstairs. This is her puppy named Dog. She talks to him. She says, no, she's got to practice. She's got things to do. She's got to practice. He has to be good dog. So she's going to go pick up that bow that's over on the table there. And she's going to take a few shots. Right now, her marksman skill is very low. So she goes and she gets a marksmanship potion.
Are they actually drinking potions? How'd you do that?
She drinks a potion.
Pause a second. So this is all, wow, this is new to me. So I'm making lists.
Mm-hmm. I've got that on the list as we need the potion or the drinking potion.
That.
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay.
This is one thing that's very interesting. So they're seeing a demonstration in the game of an NPC drinking a potion to gain a status effect because she wants to train and gain this skill. So she takes a potion that's going to help with that. And Todd says it's all new to him. He hasn't seen that yet. This is one of the like magic things about old school Bethesda is that allegedly, based on my discussions with people who worked there, have worked there, and also interviews we've watched and listened to, it used to be kind of freeform. They would let devs kind of do their own thing in large part. Like, of course, they were all building the same game. But if a designer had a really cool idea for something kind of like that, then they would let the line out. They'd let them, let go of the reins, whatever, let them do that. And then they kind of trusted each other to do that. And that works when you have 50, 60, 70 people in the studio because you can have meetings like this, talk to them and see it, keep tabs on it. But once you grow to the point where they are now, where it's like 400 to 600 people, you can't do it anymore. It just doesn't work that way. And you have to have the producers that are scheduling things, and everything is based on the checklists of getting these tasks done. It's much more corporate. Exactly, Bustin. It's very, very corporate. And it's why bigger is not always necessarily like better. Yes, once you scale up, you have more hands to help. But if those hands are only operating at 50% efficiency, doubling your team size does not double your output. If they were previously at 100% efficiency when you had 100 employees, but you go to 200 and all of your processes are so slow and bogged down with bureaucracy and productivity drops, like you didn't actually fix anything. Your budget's skyrocketing because you're employing twice the people, but you're not getting more done. And that's why like process and management is so crucial, and like company culture and policies are crucial, because if you expand too big and you don't have those systems in place, you end up with things like Fallout 76, or like they've talked about very openly, Cyberpunk 2077, where basically you just had one hand not knowing what the other was doing. And as a result, stuff was constantly breaking. So I think it's very interesting to see even something as quick and seemingly unimportant as a comment like that symbolizes a broader culture shift within the studio. It's very interesting.
All right, so she drinks that, which increases her marksmanship skill. Now she tags.
Dude, that is brilliant.
So she goes and picks up this book over here and starts reading. Dog starts eating. His animations are going to be tweaked, and now he's got all sorts of energy. He's running around. He's running around like an idiot, and she's starting to get annoyed because she's trying to read. She's like, "No, mommy's reading," and he goes, "Huh?" Bam! Paralyzed. Falls over. She goes back to reading while the dog twitches helplessly on the ground. All right, so now she says she's gonna go get some sleep. The dog still wants food though, so he follows her over to the bed. She says, "You're a very bad puppy. You're a very bad puppy." And he goes,
After kicking a bottle out of him.
awesome. And scene.
I think the demo.
I have to wonder if they could do this today. Like, imagine if in a presentation, like at a PlayStation show or an Xbox showcase, they're like, yes, and our AI is so intelligent. Look, we now have a new feature. Animal abuse. Like, it's amazing. But it's very 2005. I mean, I don't think you'd see this nowadays. But that was the whole gameplay demo. Like, they showed this at E3 behind closed doors to like demonstrate the amazing, fascinating development of what they called Radiant AI. And this was the demo they used to show it.
Showed a lot of promise, and we just have to go through and polish a lot of small stuff. And you know, the final battle part definitely isn't quite there yet. But
Ashley Cheng, I believe, is still there. Was one of the like senior people working on Starfield even back then. I do also think, can somebody Google while we're doing this when Emil Pagliarulo joined BGS? Because I don't remember seeing him in this documentary. Maybe we will see him. But I know he was there for Fallout 3, but I'm not sure if he was there for Oblivion.
I mean, the game systems work. We just need to go back and add that extra fine-tuning, extra scripting that's required for that. So.
Yeah, no panic yet.
You guys are waiting for this
2002?
panic,
Okay, maybe we
and
will
I
see him.
I don't think it's quite gonna come.
What's its
Do you see who this is? Do you see who this guy is?
stake here?
Pete Hines. So Pete would eventually climb the ranks within Bethesda Softworks. And Pete, I actually think Pete deserves way more credit than he got before he retired. He retired, I think, last year or the year before. But, or I guess it would have been right after Starfield. So I think he retired early last year. But Pete, one of his things apparently was that he did not want to just put stuff out and then abandon it if it didn't click. Like, he wanted to get the game where it needed to be, even if that meant spending tons of time and money working on it. Like, that's just what he had to do. So he promised that they would fix Fallout 76, and they did. You could counter and say it should have never released in that state. Totally fair. But they did stick with it and build it into something a lot of people really love now. Same with what was the other one? Unfortunately, there were a number of Bethesda Softworks games kind of like that. I'm blanking on it. But one of the other things he said was he wanted to save was Redfall. He wanted to stick with it and work on it and get it where it needed to be. But what's interesting is he retired, and then a matter of like a month later, they shut down Arcane Austin and all of that. Like, they shut down Redfall completely. They shut down the studio, fired everybody. But it was only once he was gone. So I think he was one of the last people that was really pushing that and trying to save it and you know, make good on some of these missteps, which, to be fair, were probably beyond his control. If he's in charge of marketing, he's not deciding when they publish, you know, that's not his thing. But yeah, he started at BGS and then he climbed the ladder out of there, kind of like how Herman Holst started in Guerrilla Games and then climbed the ladder out of Guerrilla Games to the more corporate side of things. Same thing happened with Pete as well.
There are two big focuses for E3. So one is the demo, and we'll go in there, have a big giant plasma screen, and it'll be, you know, me and Todd in there just talking to people about the game and kind of running through the same demo every hour on the hour. And then the second thing would be the trailer. It has to be awesome. It can't miss. It's the most important thing we do because it gets seen by everybody.
For 65 years, I have ruled this empire. Generals and kings have knelt at my command. But a darkness comes. The blood tide rises. These are the closing days of the Third Era.
Oblivion is a sword and sorcery epic role-playing game. You know, the things you see in Lord of the Rings or stuff like that. And at its heart, you know, it is this run through dungeons and kill things game. You have all these features and it's all kind of There's so many things people get attached to, but at its heart, it's run through dungeons and kill creatures and take their stuff and buy bigger weapons and kill bigger creatures. And that's kind of layered in on top of this. Wow, look at these flowers. Can I pick that? You know?
Luke be like 14 when this came out? No, when Oblivion came out, I was 9. Yeah. Let that settle in.
It's almost like two things sitting on top of each other. Here's the game, and then here's the virtual world.
This is where this is one of the first things I was for. We have a lot of 4 and 5. Wow. So I am genuinely curious how this feeling is preserved in a remaster / remake, because a lot of that like charm, if you played it back in the day, you know, way back when, a lot of that charm came from like the hardware, the fact that it was this like next generation game at the time. But right now, I mean, it definitely won't play like a next generation game. I think the graphic overhauls and stuff will help with it, but I'm genuinely interested to see what a new generation thinks of it, you know, because as I said, when this game came out, I was 9, but even now, right now, in the year of our Lord, Todd Howard, there's a lot of people who are legally able to vote, who are full-grown adults, who weren't born when Oblivion came out. And that kind of blows your brain a little bit. I mean, that's crazy. But it means that there's a lot of people who never had the chance to try this. And if they did have the chance to try it, they were trying it, you know, when it was years old. And so obviously it wasn't as breathtaking. So the reason I say this is because there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for them to appeal and introduce this to a new audience, certainly. But it's also because realistically, like if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out in 2027, let's say, let's just throw that date out there, that will be 16 years since Skyrim released. And nobody's playing a game when they're like 2 years old, 3 years old. They probably would only be able to play the game once they're like 7-ish, which means that there will be a lot of people, you know, 20, 21, 22-year-olds that never even played Skyrim because it came out when they were 2, 3, 4 years old. And so of course they didn't play it. And that's weird for us to think about because like it might have been really integral to your childhood or your teen years or young adulthood or late adulthood, whatever, wherever you are. But I think that this is all a big part of reintroducing the IP to a lot of people who have never seen it before and never played it before because they were toddlers, you know? But that's just how long it's been since that. So I'm really interested to see, like, as they discuss the dungeon design, how this evolves into a new audience, how a new audience interacts with this and feels about it. It's going to be interesting. So I'm not sure if it plays as well nowadays, you know?
Yeah, so like
I love seeing all the old
tripwire is perfect for,
CRT
like,
monitors and
you want to
stuff.
give the player a chance to avoid it, to feel like they see it, or to use it against the creatures.
Also, can we just appreciate this guy's cubicle? All of the little action figures he's got pinned up there, still in their containers. All the comic books stretched out, the lamp on top of this. I remember seeing PCs in this case. This was like a really cool case at the time. The built-in DVD reader and player. Oh, that's fancy. That's fancy. There's 2 types of gamers out there. PC gamers, I mean. Those who built their first PC with a DVD drive and those who didn't. Only OGs will appreciate how cool it was to have a DVD player right there. Is that a floppy disk reader too? Oh, high roller.
Again, we'll be liberal with those straps. I'd rather add too many and have people complain and take them out rather than have
That's
empty
what I'm
spaces.
thinking right now with loot and creatures.
Todd Broadwater. I wonder if he's still there. Let's look him up. He worked at BGS from April 2002 to April 2007. Dungeon art, environment art, level design. He also is the lead dungeon artist at Big Huge Games. I don't know what that is. But then he worked at Firaxis from 2008 till now. So he's still out there. He's not at BGS anymore, but he's still out there. But look at young Todd Broadwater.
Yeah, I'm trying to overwhelm it with lots of loot. So that you get more out of the dungeon.
What is Firaxis? They do like crap, what's the name of the franchise? Kingdom of Avalar, like a lot of sim games, like simulation games.
Yeah, everybody's been saying the argument you get more in someone's basement than you do in in a quest.
Well, I'm one of the world artists, but I specialize in the Oblivion plane art and the lower class. The stuff that's really dirty and dingy and sort of nasty, or the stuff that looks very deadly and scary and, you know, somewhat demonic or evil. That seems to be in my comfort zone, in a way, that I can go do that stuff far easier than if they asked me to do anything that was nice and beautiful.
Yeah, look at that. This is the guy. The guy. Yeah, so edgy. Oh yeah, XCOM, Midnight Suns, Civilization. Yeah, so I guess simulation games is not the right term. It's like strategy games. That's the word I'm looking for, strategy.
This is basically showing an overview of what you'd expect a dungeon level to look like. So they're built on a grid system, so that they have an exact fit and match, and you won't see any seams. You know, it's a lot like a Lego set in the way, except, you know, far more complex and detailed. And then before you know it, you have this world that you created in your own mind that you can sort of experience and feel the atmosphere and sort of the dread and the scariness of it. And this is where you find your first area that's inhabited by traps. So my goal is, you know, I'm hoping the player will walk over to the treasure chest and walk through all 3 of these zones, therefore setting off all 3 of these traps up here, here, and here. I mean, I live a pretty normal life. I have a wife and 2 daughters, so it's very normal for me. But they exist in that world with me, like they're exposed to the monsters and to the films and all the stuff that I have in the house. I love the undead.
Very edgy, yeah. Ugh. For 2005, this was scandalous.
I try to use them as much as possible. Just bring in one of these guys, pop them down, and so like this one only has 1 arm, or the other one has no head. I guess I'm sort of a non-conventional sort of person, so that I've always stayed away from the, you know, more conservative side of life. So I like the stuff that is far more, I guess, less mainstream. So it wouldn't just follow this route along the path here, but maybe it would take this route, you know, and give it a little bit more lifelike behavior as far as the direction it's going to travel. But also give people questions as to why it's there and what it stands for, because that could be more interesting in what you read into it rather than the literal. You know, what your mind imagines sometimes is far cooler than what the reality is of situations.
Ooh la la.
I know the designers have a long wish list of art that they wanted, but you know what? I mean, if you don't get that unique looking sword, I think we can live with it looking like every other sword in the game, so.
I'm waiting for Craig to do as usual. Everybody stop coding, I'm gonna fix this.
That's just 2-step. 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So I'm gonna make everybody turn.
Craig Walton. I want to see this guy too. I like looking these guys up to see what happened to them. So he's still there. He's still there. He even did, he worked on Starfield. So this guy's still there. Wow. All these years later. Can't get rid of him. Until you Google someone who died. That's why I'm not looking up the older guys. I don't want to be sad. AI.
I think the big thing is the AI we have in the game. We designed this system, Radiant AI, that allows the people in the world to react really intelligently, and they sort of have their own goals, so they can look at their environment around them and decide how they want to accomplish them.
Our NPCs exist no matter if you're there or not. They're doing what they're supposed to do. You can send a guy off to a dungeon to kill stuff, and you don't have to go with him. You go back to that dungeon, either he'll be dead or the things that he was supposed to kill will be dead. I mean, it will have happened whether you were there or not.
Like this guy, I can basically go up to him and say hi to him, and he'll greet me. He'll chat with me.
So this is something where, like, for the time, this was really cool. Don't get me wrong. Nowadays, this is very, very normal. Okay, like this isn't that remarkable. Which is also why I think it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out. Because at the time, Radiant AI was sold as like this cutting edge, amazing technology. Whereas nowadays, it probably doesn't feel like that. It's like, no duh. Of course, you can have really aggressive NPCs or really you know, placid, uninterested ones or whatever. But at the time, this was like, again, groundbreaking. It was so cool. It was so cool. There were some things that were probably overpromised and under-delivered on some of it, but still, I mean, you'll see them kind of explain it. And nowadays, you'd be like, yeah, every open world game should have this, but for the time, this was very different.
His aggression is like a 5. I'm gonna give him a higher aggression. So now he really hates my guts. He tremendously hates my guts. So we're gonna move over here, and he's immediately gonna go combat with me. The guy behind him's a guard. So he committed a crime by attacking me. So the guard will attack him. These other guys are just trying to stay away. So eventually he figures out the guard is a much dangerous target than I am, because I haven't struck him once, so he'll fight the guard. But the good guard saved me, kept me from getting killed.
It's why, like, things like this can always be cool, but it's also about how you frame it and communicate it to the player, because something like that is cool when you see a demo of it, like, ooh, just the aggression against the player caused that. And it could have been that the aggression was spiked because you pickpocketed him like 10 hours of gameplay ago, and now he hates you because he knew that you stole from him. Could be something like that. But you have to have dialogue that communicates that. Otherwise, people might think that that's a glitch or a bug, that this NPC just started attacking me out of nowhere, when in reality it was this cool, like, dynamic thing that happened because of your choices. But if it's not communicated properly, it feels like a bug. It's one of the things that's like fascinating to me about making video games, is that a lot of it is not just about doing something cool or having a cool feature or something dynamic. It's about how you communicate that to the player so they understand what's going on, because a cool feature means nothing if people don't understand it. It just doesn't. And that's where, like, the real trickiness of game dev comes in.
One of the initial things we had was we turned it on so the guys could all do their stuff, and some guy went around town, some NPC you couldn't even see, went around town and bought all the armor. So when you went to the stores, there was nothing for you to buy. It's like a ship that's springing all these water leaks.
Exactly. Like, that's a perfect example of, like, something really cool happening. They gave NPCs the ability to go to stores and buy stuff, but once they opened that floodgate, an NPC went and bought all of the, you know, this one particular type of item, or this type of food or healing or whatever. And then the player goes and it's like, oh, the game's bugged. When in reality, it's not. It's not a bug. It's literally a feature. But because it's not working the way the player would expect it to, it doesn't feel good. It's not fun. You know, so sometimes just raw dynamics don't actually help anything. They can actually make the game worse. You have to balance it with what is actually fun and what works with what players expect it to do, you know.
And we're constantly, like, you know, filling them up.
Yeah, the NPC becomes a scalper. Exactly. It's actually meant to simulate real life, really, at the end of the day. There's a new launch of a crazy new battle axe at the store in the city. But a bunch of NPCs bought them up and are trying to flip them for double the price. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Did you realize the player can easily steal a horse, ride it to this guy's place, leave it in his house, and steal all his money when the other guy goes out and tries to ride the horse, and hilarity ensues?
When you have something that's powerful, it has a great capacity to be really cool, or a great capacity to really make insanity.
They're my actors. They're my children. They have to behave properly. When they're not acting right, everyone comes looking to me. So yeah, I talk to them and I have them set up and know what they do. And yeah, it's kind of odd.
Art. The art stuff is cool, but I do want to look at the E3 section specifically, because they do some stuff where they show, like, the voice actors and some of that stuff. This right here, again, I mentioned this in the other video we did. Do you know who this is? You guys remember?
For Oblivion, to do the Nord females again.
I played the Nord women, the Nords, and they are, I guess, a Viking-like race, and the women are fantastic warriors. And
so Linda Carter, they don't really make a big deal of it here, but again, just in case you didn't know or you missed that other one, Miss Linda Carter, she played Wonder Woman for years back in the 70s, very well-known actress from that. But most significantly, she was, or maybe not most, but also significantly, she was married to Robert Altman. Robert Altman was the guy that ran ZeniMax for like decades, facilitated the sale of ZeniMax to Microsoft, got the $7.5 billion sale, like made all that money. It was crazy. But he had a rare type of leukemia and was hospitalized and passed away, like out of nowhere. It's crazy. Like really tragic also that he worked his ass off for decades and decades, sells the company for billions, and then passes away before he can like even really enjoy it. But this is his wife. She also like did a bunch of the voice acting for all these games, which is wild. Like it's absolutely wild, but it's a small world, BGS. It's a small world. But I want to show you some of the little tidbits because they end up going to E3, right? So the whole documentary's covering this. That's a good picture. They cover like preparing the demo, preparing all of this stuff. And then they get there to actually show off the game at E3. So they put the demo on a computer. They pack the computer into the box.
He did it!
That frame rate though.
Now we just need to make sure that works all day.
If you do not have any green buttons, proceed through the register.
They don't like it a lot.
So yeah, this is 2005, not even 2006. May 15th, 2005.
I'll be really disappointed. It's all about meeting expectations. It could still be like one of the best games there, but if it doesn't meet their expectations.
Time we start?
Oh, right now it's 7:10, and we were supposed to be starting the Microsoft event in 5 minutes, but that's not going to happen.
Is Todd 4 feet tall? Close to it. No, he's a little guy. He's just a little fella. Yeah, he's just a little fella. Damn, they sweating. Well, dude, just imagine you work on anything for like 3, 4, 5 years. That's all you've been working on. And then it all comes down to basically 1 3-minute trailer. Like that trailer has to convince the public that this is worth checking out. It's why like I don't blame the Bungie guys for being so stressed about the marathon reveal, because for them much higher stakes. It's literally their company is on the line, like because they were bought out for $3.7 billion and like it all kind of is riding on marathon. So I don't blame these guys for sweating before these reveals. It's high stakes. You know, I work on a YouTube video for like a few weeks, like a big critique or something that we spend a couple months on or whatever it is. And I'm stressed about that. I can only imagine what it's like if you spend years and like everybody's livelihood is on the line. It's crazy, crazy high stakes.
So we're just hanging out, waiting to meet up with some folks, and we go get something to drink, and we'll watch them put our trailer up in front of thousands of people.
Oh, wait, is Todd a gum chewer? Todd. Theodore. Watch him. He's in the bottom left. I think he's chewing gum. Todd.
We'll watch him put our trailer up in front of...
He's a mouth open gum chewer. At least he was 20 years ago. I'm fine with chewing gum. Gum's good. But the... it's like a cow chewing cud. It's just like, stop. I'm watching you, Todd, from 20 years ago. How dare you?
Thousands of people. I mean, I'm really looking
It's a
forward
Zen
to
pouch.
it. It's an awful lot of work to get to this point. I mean, we haven't seen it on a freaking movie screen, so we have no idea how it's going to look. Well, we know it looks really good on a 61-inch TV, but on a movie screen. But if it looks as good as we know it can, and if it's and if the response is really awesome, I think it'll probably maybe the greatest professional moment of my life.
What's funny to me is they haven't seen it on the screen yet. So they hadn't done like a dress rehearsal to do it. They do that even for like the Game Awards or Summer Games Fest or those shows. They'll do the entire show through once or twice sometimes, like the day before or earlier the day of. And they just want to make sure everything's working, right? And everything looks the way it should and sounds the way it should. So it's funny to hear that they have the Xbox 360 reveal event and they hadn't even seen their own trailer on the screen yet. That's very interesting, very funny.
So how about this? How about a brand new, full-featured,
Peter Moore
next-generation role-playing game in the launch window? Morrowind was one of the best-selling role-playing games ever on the Xbox. The sequel to this incredible game is called Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. It promises to feature one of the largest open-ended worlds ever created for a video game. It also includes thousands of characters that are governed by groundbreaking AI.
Groundbreaking.
Also includes thousands of characters that are governed by groundbreaking AI.
Brown groundbreaking AI. Are there actually thousands of characters in Oblivion? That seems like a lot. Even for a modern game. Thousands? I'm not sure if that's accurate, but whatever. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
These characters eat, sleep, and complete tasks all around the clock. And they make their own choices based on what's going on in the world around them. Welcome to the world of Oblivion.
I'm legit sad knowing that E3's dead. Yeah, dude, it was... I am so thankful I got to go in 2019 at the last one before, you know, COVID hit and everything. Because it was an experience. And even then it was starting to die out because all the big, like, I think Sony wasn't even there. Or they had their own private, like, media only event. It didn't make sense anymore. But I think eventually it will come back. Maybe this is like one of my deep cut predictions out of nowhere, is that I think they do bring it back in like 10 years when people are really nostalgic for it. I think maybe then they do it. But that's the thing. They have to get like Xbox and PlayStation on board. And that's where it's tricky. Because for them, it doesn't make as much sense. It makes way more sense to just do their own thing. I think you might see it with like a Phil Spencer, but I think you'd have to see major leadership changes at Sony to do it. Because like you remember I think it was the Game Awards where Phil Spencer, Reggie Fils-Aimé, and Sean Layden, they all went on stage together. The Game Awards 2018, that's when it was, where they literally got the heads of all these different competitors and they stood on stage together because they're like, gaming's bigger than just any one of us, any one of our platforms. Let's stand together. You know, it was a very simple gesture, but it was significant. And I think there's a reason why you have not seen, like, you didn't see Jim Ryan up on stage with Phil Spencer. He never went to the Game Awards, as far as I'm aware. He never attended any of these things because I don't think he gave a crap. But I think that this was way more significant than anybody gave him credit for. And I would love to see something like this happen again. I think it would be really healthy for the industry. But until you saw this type of thing happen again, I'm not sure, like on stage, I'm not sure if we'll ever see something like E3 happen again. Because I think you have to have these guys willing to like, okay, we're going to come together at this one event for the fans, for the community, for the public. And then I think it could happen. But I'm not sure if that's going to happen with current like PlayStation leadership. Phil demonstrated he was willing to do it in that picture. But I don't think any of the current leadership at PlayStation, for example, is willing to do it. Spin, spin, Harmon, dance through the fire. Yeah, exactly.
Howard of Bethesda Softworks, and welcome to our presentation of...
Oh, Todd's got that Young Yeah microphone. Look at that.
Hi, I'm Todd Howard of Bethesda Softworks, and welcome to our presentation of
Look at
the
that.
Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
The fate of the world.
This game looks unbelievable. It actually has trees, unlike Gardenfall.
The whole first level of the game is a prison break. And through your actions, it really determines what kind of character you'll be.
I mean, sometimes I worry that games are going to get so realistic looking that I won't want to play in them because they're too real, and then I might as well just be at home. Only this was a pretty good case for hyper-realism.
Hyper-realism. 2005. Again, hyper-realism in Oblivion.
The forest was gorgeous.
Unbelievable. It's easily the most impressive game that we've seen at E3. It's like with the Radiant AI thing. Yeah. That's always one of my big issues with RPGs is the NPC characters are kind of boring. Like they're just there and you talk to them and they're kind of just like this clunky way of getting information. But it's so much more entertaining to watch like somebody flame their dog.
Again, I just could never imagine that happening today. Like back in 2005, it's like, oh, it's really cool that woman lit her dog on fire. Nowadays, like companies get anxious if they have dogs in their game, period. I remember talking to somebody, a friend, who said that she couldn't play The Last of Us Part 2. She couldn't play through it because there's points where like dogs get hurt. Like she was able to get through most of the early levels by just not like killing the dogs or fighting them. And it was like an added challenge, the no dog killing runs, but she just couldn't bring herself to do it. Because there is that one point in The Last of Us Part 2 at the aquarium where you have to kill the dog and the dog will die and there's nothing you can do about it. And at that point she just couldn't. She turned it off. It's funny because I'm like, you're okay with killing people, like a lot of people. But the dog that's trying to kill you, you have trouble getting over that. And I guess it's because like the dog is innocent. I understand the argument, but yeah, seeing a presentation where they light a dog on fire is just, it's funny because I don't think you'd ever see that today as like part of the selling point of, oh yes, yeah. But maybe we'll see that. Maybe in the Oblivion remake when it drops, if it drops tomorrow, we'll see if dogs are still ignitable. Who knows? Dude, what an encapsulation of 2005. The big camcorder with the eyepiece and the hand strap filming a little TV on a wall. Like, that's just, oh, those are the days, man.
Oh my God, have you seen our booth? It's off the hook.
Fans of the series, they're gonna go nuts. They're gonna love it.
Morrowind changed my life. I don't know about that.
Maybe it changed my life.
I put in a
Definitely
lot of
took
hours.
away a lot of my hours.
We look back at what people really liked about role-playing in the first place. The setting, the action, the heroism.
When that guy came, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but when the guy came out of that Oblivion portal, that was cool. He was so cool.
That was so cool. Bro needs a hug. Oh man. This is mad hyped. But back again in the day, this was like crazy. Like hype out. Off the chart. Off the chart.
They do have a very unique sort of little setup there, doing titles that take a long time, that have a distinct story, and they've really resonated with fans over the years.
I totally love the storyline as it is, and like the way it develops is like just so good.
As you know, if it's an Elder Scrolls game, people are going to go buy it just because.
Just because. There's a lot of wisdom in that. Just take that back.
As you know, if it's an Elder Scrolls game, people are going to go buy it just because.
Truer words may never have been spoken. He didn't even know. 20 years later, we'd be like, wisdom. Wisdom. After its unveiling at E3, Oblivion won critical acclaim from gamers and the press alike. Best role-playing game of E3 2005. Best role-playing game of E3 2005, again, from GameSpot. It stood out as the most impressive role-playing game at the show. Sure, it looks quite pretty, but what really grabs us about Oblivion is the amazing artificial intelligence, which makes heavy use of dynamic conversation and behavior. Oblivion leapfrogs past New to become one of the few truly next-generation titles at the show. Oblivion wins top honors in Game Chronicles magazine's 2005 Best of Show Awards. Morrowind was one of the best RPGs on the original Xbox, and its creators at Bethesda are aiming to make a greater impact on the 360. Best overall game of E3 2005. Isn't that crazy? So that's why people are really excited for the Oblivion remake, you know, because back in the day, it really was on that level. People were losing their minds for it. And what I'm most interested in is just seeing how it's going to be received in this new package from a new audience. Because obviously, things that were groundbreaking in 2005 are probably considered typical or standard nowadays. So I think, you know, expectations will shift and change a little bit. So I'm excited to see how it develops and how it changes. Because I mean, maybe that's part of the strategy with calling it a remaster versus remake, is that they're keeping a lot of that stuff and they don't want people to throw a fit. I'm not sure, but it's going to be interesting to see. He took my thing.